going on, everybody, and welcome back to the show, After School with the Lawsons. I am your host, the funny guy, Daniel Lawson, and today I have a special guest, a very talented individual, Mr. Tony Smith.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming, man.
No problem.
Tony here is a singer, songwriter. I mean, he does it all. He's in the filming business. We'll get to talking about that. Very talented. Someone I used to watch back in the day was Sleeper Agent, you know, the band you was in. Mm-hmm. Me and my buddies used to come and watch you guys and kind of inspired us musically. I mean, y'all were well known around the area.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And where did you all guys even meet at?
Sleeper Agent is an evolution of a lot of other bands that started when I was 16 to, Bowling Green's a relatively small town.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not like Mayberry, but it is like, it's got like 80,000 people.
Right.
And there's only probably 100 musicians around your age, probably less. And so you pick and choose people from different scenes, and then you play with one band for a little bit, and that kind of evolves. But initially, I started the band out of heartbreak as a 16-year-old.
I think that's every man's, what inspires them.
I was playing guitar around 10, decently okay at it. Put it down once high school started because, you get interested in other things, video games, girls, movies. For a long time, I wanted to be a filmmaker, which kind of ties into what we're going to talk about later. And got my heart broken and went over to a buddy's and kind of played him a song I was working on. They're like, "Hey, you're pretty good at this." And I was like, "You think so?" It's like, "Yeah, we should start a band." And you play shows and then you meet other people who are in bands and those bands fall apart. But yeah, Sleeper Agent kind of came from the ashes of many other bands.
Oh, okay. So that's interesting.
When we initially started with a whole different lineup as more of like a bar band, it was kind of like a local super group because it contained like elements from other somewhat popular bands in the bar scene at the time. Yeah.
Born and raised here in Bowling Green, and then once you grew up, you kind of went your separate ways. Is that right?
For the most part, like technically I was born in Oxford, Mississippi, or near Oxford. And my family was there briefly, and then they moved to Russellville. And I was like still a baby. And then during that period, they moved to Bowling Green. So but from age 1 to 27, I was in Bowling Green.
That's awesome.
So essentially, born and raised.
That's cool, man. So any musical background from the family at all? Like dad, mom, uncles, cousins?
My dad had he had an acoustic guitar when I was younger, and he, had like a collection of songs that he wrote, and then he would play bits and pieces of like cover songs, but mainly just as like a hobby. And when he would go to work, I would sneak into his room and I would play the guitar, one string at a time, nothing too crazy.
So he didn't know you was touching it?
No, but I'm sure I got damaged over time, and I'm sure he didn't appreciate it.
But does he know now?
Yeah. But it's something that, he kind of had around and I really ran with.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What was like your first guitar as a musician?
Well, it was like right after that. I think it was around 11. They finally got me my own acoustic guitar. But prior to that, I got a small electric Stratocaster ripoff.
Yeah.
I actually still have it, but it's like a small scale, so it's meant for a child.
Yeah.
That and a little amplifier. Yeah, it was nothing branded. It was called like Hamer, Slammer, Hamer, something cheap. Yeah.
My first guitar was you ever heard of Lion?
No.
So Washburn makes Lion. I think it was like $100 at Target. It was my first guitar. Okay. And honestly, it sounded great. Yeah. Especially when it had new strings. But Lion, it was a Lion made by Washburn.
There you go. Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of emphasis put on like how guitars are made and how expensive they are and what type of pickups and whatever, yada, yada, yada. I'm not really into that, I use like Squires, just whatever gets the job done. Because you really are, it's diminishing returns the higher you go. Why pay $2,000 for a guitar when a $400 one sounds just fine? But I mean, if you're an enthusiast, you want that top-notch stuff. Yeah.
But with technology too, now it's like if you play on a Squier, do you really get the Squier sound, you know, like especially once you throw them in all these like different programs and tweak and manipulate the sound of it? Like, is it truly worth having an expensive guitar at that point?
I mean, like, I don't think so. But as I said, I'm not really an enthusiast. I'm a very like workman-like guitarist, and I just want to get the sounds out, you know. But I've had expensive guitars and I've had cheap guitars. And
what's your prized possession, one that you've ever had?
Well, when I was like doing big things with my band, you get invited. People give you stuff. So I got invited to Gibson, and
nice.
Essentially they just let me pick out a guitar, and I picked out an SG from the wall, and I didn't know how much it was. I didn't care. But later on when I sold it, because I got really into synthesizers for a minute, so I wanted to buy a couple cents. I looked up the value and it was like $2,000.
Wow.
So I was like, well, shit.
Yeah. That's wild.
So,
that's awesome.
But the thing is, like, I liked it, but I didn't $2,000 like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah.
So
So you're in Nashville currently, right?
Yeah.
You know, if you live in Bowling Green, is it okay to live in Bowling Green if you're that kind of musician and just be down the road from Nashville? Or do you recommend people migrating and living in Nashville if that's what you want to do?
It's weird to me because I moved to Nashville in 2014. It's changed dramatically since then in 10 years. True. And the thing is in 2014, it had changed dramatically since 2004. And I definitely feel like, I don't know if I would recommend moving there anymore.
Yeah.
Because it's been so, like, only move there if you have a reason to. I definitely don't feel like there's the old mentality of you and your buddies moving into, you know, a house that's falling apart and really roughing it to go play shows, you know, 3 days a week. Maybe I'm just older and that doesn't make sense to me anymore.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't go to enough local shows anymore. But when I was in my late teens and early 20s, I was in Nashville every weekend, you know, driving up and down, playing shows here, shows there. But I don't know if, like, you know, garage rock has the same appeal that it did anymore. I mean, it might, but I'm just not out there.
Did you ever go to Rocket Town back in the day?
Of course, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because, you know, before you're 18 even, I saw the first show I ever bought tickets to was Death Cab for Cutie, headlining with Ben Queller opening and Pedro the Lion, 3 artists who turned up to be one of my favorites. And Death Cab for Cutie, the album at the time was Transatlanticism, which is now their classic album. And so I got to see them during that tour in a room full of 200 people. It was insane.
It's crazy.
And now if you try to go see, let's say they do like a 20th anniversary Transatlanticism, you're gonna have to be in Bridgestone, or, like, you know, tickets are gonna be $200. So I feel, in hindsight, so lucky that I got to see that.
Yeah, me and Jordan, my best friend from high school, we would go down every, you know, maybe Friday night, Saturday night. One of the nights there was always a band. $20 get you in the door, you know, to Rocket Town, and
get a Red Bull.
Oh yeah, because you can't get alcohol at that age, you know. So get your drink, go stand. I mean, we went and saw. Have you heard of the band All Time Low?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So when they released, I can't remember. It wasn't the album with Circles on it. It was the very next album that kind of really skyrocketed them. But we went and saw them there, and I mean, Valencia was there. We've seen Polar Bear Club there. Jordan's probably listening, like, oh, I forgot about Polar Bear Club.
Right, yeah.
You know, there's so many memories. I'll tell you something funny. We was at a show and someone dropped a wad of cash. What I did was I put my foot on it at the time. Now I probably would have picked it up and gave it to somebody. But you're like, you're broke at 18 years old.
Perpetually
you know?
broke, yeah.
So I've looked down, I'm like, dude, Jordan, there's a wad of cash. So I stick my foot on it and I, like, do that weird creeper walk backwards and, like, drag it with me.
Yeah.
And so I can't remember what we bought with it. I think we bought, like, some food with it there and a drink, but then I gave it I felt bad, so I gave it to a homeless man whenever we was leaving. So I did a good deed. I was putting it back out there to society.
I mean, hopefully they did something cool with it.
Yeah. Probably not, but if they did, even better. Let's talk about your new album, in which you gave me a little party favor, which is super cool.
Yeah.
We'll have it pop up here too, but tell me about Doll Me Up. Like, what inspired you to write this album? Are these songs that you've been sitting on for a long time?
Yeah, it's really just a mishmash of what you just said. Like, there are songs that didn't make it on the Sleeper Agent records.
Yeah.
And there's songs that have been in my head for a while. And you were talking earlier off camera about, you know, starting this up and learning about audio and learning about. And so essentially these songs are my way of learning how to record.
So you did all this.
Yeah.
Like, there's no other people.
Except for drums. My buddy Adam, he had his own home studio as well. And so he handled all the drums. I went and rehearsed with him because I don't know the first thing about drums. And just, you know, miking a drum kit is a whole other part of your brain. So luckily that was a hobby for him. So yeah, I mean, we did all the drums at his place, but everything else was done in my spare room in my house that we called the studio.
How long did it take you to finalize from start to finish?
I started writing the album, like demoing it in 2018, and started recording it, like tracking in 2019. So I wish I had a good excuse for why it took so long, but I really don't. You know, it was a lot of pulling my hair out and just, you go through the motions of like, is this the worst thing I've ever done? Is this the best thing I've ever done? Should I just keep it to myself? Like, you know, you go through this roller coaster of emotions about whether you actually want to commit to putting it out.
Yeah. Yeah. And especially with you being so successful, you know, prior, you know, it's, did you feel as if like, I don't know, you just had to uphold a, you know.
It's weird because like the music I made with that band, it certainly was a certain kind of energy that I think really spoke to people. And I didn't want to do that at all. And so how do you try to bring in those old fans, but you go, but this is totally different.
Yeah.
And a lot of time the response you get is like, this is okay, but I like this better. And so it's a balancing act of like trying to like tell old fans that you still exist, but also trying to gain new ones who might appreciate it. Like a new listener
for sure. It's funny that you said that you kind of sit on it and like, should I put this out?
Yeah.
Is this the best that I've done? Jordan and I have had this conversation, and he's been doing the same thing with his new stuff. And at this point, he's like, you know what? Let's push it out, because at the end of the day, you know, it's just practice, you know, and eventually after you release a song, it's like you find yourself getting better. But he goes through it more than I do, right? Because I'm not over here writing songs. Yeah. But I still see it though, but because I see it in filming or videos we film, it's like, should I put this out? Like vlogs, for instance. I hate vlogging, and it's so hard to vlog for me, and I don't get it. Like I'll have it in my mind that I'm going to wake up. I'm going to California tomorrow. I charge my camera. It's sitting on the nightstand. So as soon as I wake up, I'm going to click that bad boy on and start vlogging me, brush my teeth. Dude, at that point, when it's 3 a.m. and you got to catch a flight by 6, it's like, I don't even want to touch this damn thing.
Yeah. I mean, that's a part, I remember like we first started touring in 2010, 2011. Do you remember the flip cameras?
Yeah. Exactly.
So like our record label was like, we want you to get as much content as possible. So I guess in many ways that was vlogging. But yeah, I remember we got on people's nerves so much because we'd have that flip camera in their face. But I'm so glad we did that now, because I essentially have our first year as a band on awesome. 720 awful digital video.
But that thing was cool. I mean, literally, you film it, pop the USB in and extract it, you're good to go.
I feel like they should come out with a new version of it because, well, while your phone is great, it's got 4K on it, it's still, you know, it's also got like all your photos, all your personal stuff, all your banking apps, everything. So there was something really just nice about having a product that was for one thing only. Yeah. No bells and whistles. And then you just plug it in your computer. It was amazing.
Yeah. Me and my buddy, we filmed so much on that back in the day. And we probably open and close that little USB thing so many times it like
you fidget with it.
Yeah. You just flick it open and it just pops open. About your album, what really interests me is your videoing. And, you know, obviously the songs itself and the production of that, I think is extremely unique, especially for someone who's never done it before. Okay. How did you learn to do the production? And, you know, like, was it YouTube? Was it Google? I mean, what all did you use?
In college, I had one of those white MacBooks, and I would just record directly into the little microphone at the top of that. Use GarageBand. I think GarageBand is where I learned most of my like editing skills. Prior to that, I used to use a board kind of like you've got over here, back before computers.
Yeah.
Well, that was a disaster, but that's where I picked up my initial skills. But yeah. And then when I moved to Nashville, I was told that, pretty much all songwriters were creating their own demos. And that's why I moved to Nashville initially, was to try to get into the country music songwriting sphere as a person who never listened to country music. So without, I'm sure you guessed, it failed miserably because...
Are you kidding me? I mean, you got the hair for it.
Well, I mean, just like, I didn't, I was writing songs that I thought were country, which might have come off as disrespectful to country music fans, So that was a disaster. But I learned how to like demo my songs, because everybody was saying, well, these demos are practically like studio recordings now. A lot of times the demo is the final recording. And so, just you learn little by little, then you outgrow your equipment. Like I had a USB mic and I was like, well, how do I make it sound better? A buddy of mine's like, get an SM7B.
Yeah.
Did that. It's like, well, why is it so quiet? Well, you have to have a preamp. Okay. Well, what's a preamp? Well, that's a whole different path you take.
That's so funny.
And then it's like, well, now I need more than 2 inputs on my interface. Well, it's just, it's just almost like a snowball that just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I feel like that's probably why it took so long initially. It's because you're buying all that gear, you're learning it, you're outgrowing it, you're making mistakes, you're trying to figure out why it sounds bad, and you start over, and you spend $20,000.
I'm so glad that we have this on recording. Because I'm going to replay it for my wife and say, see, I'm not the only one.
And it's part of it. I mean, but we live in like, it's such a good time to be alive in that way. Because when I was growing up, to even do anything, if you want to do this, you might have to rent like a space at, I don't remember what the local station's called here, but you might have to rent a spot, and they'll have to you have to hire some guy who knows all the stuff. And now if you are curious enough to do some YouTube videos, read some manuals, you have a little bit of pocket change, you don't even need that much.
Right.
You can get a blue microphone. I wouldn't get one, but you can get
Rode makes $100. Yeah, it's like $100.
Yeah, but I'm saying you can start so easily, and if you just have like a little bit of like a good ear for it, you can make it sound great.
Yeah. Like I was telling you, we went through the same thing I started the video podcast with DSLR cameras, and I didn't know they shut off after 30 minutes.
Right, yeah, because they are for photos.
Yeah, and so I got a video camera now, and I upgraded from the Rode mics to the SM7Bs because you always want to improve on quality. If anything, you want to improve on visual quality and audio quality, and at least make it look like you know what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and you hit a ceiling. So with the old mics, you're like, okay, well that sounds great, but how do I take it to the next level? And the same thing with video quality. I was always like, well, how did that guy make it look so good?
Yeah.
And if you're curious enough, I would reach out to him, like, what camera are you using? Mm-hmm. And you find out, and like, okay, I'll get that camera. But then you get the camera, it doesn't look as good as theirs. And they're like, what? Oh, they're using lighting. Well, what lights did you get?
What ISO are you using?
Right,
and all this stuff.
Exactly. So, I mean, if you're a curious person who doesn't mind exploring and having a big money pit and time suck, go for it.
Definitely time suck. Lots of reading and
a lot of irritation, pulling your hair out.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm just glad I'm not the only one that does it. And do you feel like you going through those things? Because I feel this way. It's like, do you appreciate the end result much more? One, because, you took the time and energy and effort. Like, I learned this myself and I invested so much time and money at that point, but I almost feel like I have a greater appreciation for anything that gets put out,
Yeah, I mean, definitely. And what's really cool at the end of the experience, you still have the stuff.
Yeah.
It's not like, blowing $3,000 in the studio and that being like, oh, well, that's it, Yeah, I'm so glad I did it, because the next one I do, I just start from that point. I don't have to like relearn, And like hindsight, I've been in like multi-million-dollar studios. I wish I had the curiosity to look at stuff and be like, what is that?
Yeah.
I didn't care though.
Yeah.
I was like, give me a 6-pack of beer. Let's make a song.
Or let's take a selfie in front of this like ancient piece of history. I love it.
Right,
That's awesome. So what kind of cameras do you use now for your filming?
I just use the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 4K. I think that's what it's called. It's got a ridiculously long name, and it actually does not fit in your pocket. It's about this big.
So they lied.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's a pocket compared to like a Red Dragon or something like that.
For sure. Well, I like to talk a little bit about filming because, you know, obviously we film here.
Yeah.
You know, so that's very interesting to me. What even got you going down that avenue? Was it you wanted to save money? Was it just something else you wanted your brain to learn?
In 2013, our label wanted like a lyric video or something. And even prior to that, I was chopping up those split videos and putting out vlogs. And so I think I always had like an eye for it. And then it's all just about control, man. Like I should be less controlling. I should trust somebody to like hold a camera for me. But I have this idea in my head, this vision, and I just don't trust anybody else with it.
Yeah.
And so I also don't want to have a time constraint. I want to do like shoot this on this day and that on this day. I hate feeling rushed, and I just want to do it as I feel it. I think it's why I got into it, because I want to control.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I mean, hey, at the end of the day, it's your music, you know, why not?
Yeah. And like, you know, I've been in the editing rooms with people, and I know I just drive them nuts. Yeah. So it's just so much better if you just give me my space and let me toil away for weeks and hours and explore. And because a lot of times I don't know what I want until I see it. And if you're that kind of brain, that's the way to go. Yeah.
Now, a lot of your videos now look almost as if they are behind a green screen or a blue screen.
So I do try to avoid green and blue screens as much as possible. I mean, you worked with them. They can be a total pain.
Do you feel like if you don't have the lighting right?
Yeah.
Like it.
Yeah.
Or if you move a certain way, you know, I feel like that's an issue for me.
You should, to use a green screen properly, you should have enough space in front of it. But if you're using like a residential place, space is very limited. Yeah. Ideally, you want to avoid casting any shadow on the screen. So you should light the screen separately and light yourself separately.
Interesting.
Because as you cast a shadow, then you have to make your key more specific, and then you get a weird mask, and it's tough. It's like a balancing act. And I still have never had the luxury of truly lighting the screen separate, because I have to be at least like somewhat close to it.
Yeah.
But I try to give like 3 to 4 feet in front of it. I just done my first video for day drinking. I don't know if you've seen that one.
Yes, I did.
So for that one, I created a 180 motion rig. That way we could get like a camera that goes around my head. I don't know so that's how we did that. And I actually took 2 tripods apart and put them together in a way where they could have a fluid motion. And I had my wife, I taught how to use it, and worked out great.
Does she enjoy it? Does she enjoy like the filming process of it?
Yeah. Danielle, my wife, actually went to film school, or was in the film program.
Nice.
But totally just, did, went somewhere else. Went into like the whole different career path. So the interest is there. So totally into it. It was great. Danielle had like knee pads on, cause like
she was all in.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And did that and went to a bar and actually did some day drinking, and it was a great experience. But for that one, I was like, all right, I'm going to do something totally different that involves nobody. I can just do it myself. Quickly was the idea to do it, because at that point I was churning out a video a month leading up to the album release to try to like generate interest. But I would say I had this idea. AI was just getting big, and they were just like offering programs. I'm sure you remember a couple of years ago, everybody posted their AI portraits. Do you remember that? Yeah. When I saw that, I was like, this is really neat. And I know there's a lot of, like ethical issues around AI.
Yeah.
Is it like taking pieces of artists' work? As an artist too, it's kind of like totally understand it. So the way I wanted to use it was still have my creative footprint all over it. So I wanted to shoot the actual video. I didn't want to like write any prompts or anything. And so I had this idea of me just walking through environments that were going to be shifting and changing. My appearance would be changing because the song is very, I don't know.
Very like it's flowy. Like it just, I love it. It's very
like
flowy
moody
to me.
and it feels almost surreal. And I wanted to try to match that. And I needed a reason for me to, and also the song was called Get Lost. And so I wanted to feel like the viewer was getting lost in all these like trippy visuals essentially.
So did you like more, like I saw, and I might be completely wrong, but it's like almost as if you were changing into like a younger you or a totally different person, but younger. Is that true?
Yeah. I mean, it just like, it depends on what I wrote into the,
That's interesting.
the visual. So I shot, myself on a large blue screen because you can shoot dark shots better on blue than you can green.
Okay.
And I'm sure you've noticed when you use a green screen, the light bounces off of it and gives you a kind of like they call it like a spill, a green spill. And I really, if I did have a spill on the blue screen, it would be dark.
Okay.
So, and I knew I was going to have dark environments, so it would be easier to blend those. And then I bought a walking pad, which is a treadmill without handles. And so I just had it, I was running on it, walking on it. A trick I do to, so I like record all my video like at 60 frames a second and the song is double speed. So I'm like learning the song very quickly.
Yeah.
But when I take it into DaVinci Resolve and slow it down, it looks very surreal and dreamlike, but it matches up. It's a trick. Cool. It's a trick music videos I've been using for decades.
Because the 60 frames picks up the movement a lot better.
Picks up the movement, and the slow-mo, when it's slowed down, it looks fluid.
Yeah.
If you shoot something at 30 or 24 frames a second, you slow it down, it looks very choppy. But it just gives a certain aesthetic to it that looks really cool. And that way I only have to, instead of it being a 4.5 minute song, it's 2 minutes and 15 seconds, and I can do as many takes and not feel so exhausted. Because walking on that walking pad and running, it was an actual workout. And like as the deeper I got into it, I got sweatier and sweatier. But and then I thought my biggest like downfall, my wife will point this out too, is that I think everything's going to be easier than it actually ends up being. I'm like, oh, it's super easy. You shoot this stuff. I'm going to walk on a walking pad. We're going to drop in some things. It'll take a day. Oh my God, it takes weeks. Because like, then you have to like come up with the environments and things never work the way you want them to. And you're just sitting there sweating bullets. And you're like, why did I do this? Yeah.
I was doing the same thing last night. I was trying to, the video I showed you earlier, like I'm just now starting to get into masks and like, it's super cool if you can, like, if you know how to work them, great. They are so beneficial. Yeah. And I've never used them before, but in my head, I'm like, it can't be that hard.
Yeah.
And then I'm sitting in here and I'm like scratching my head. I'm like, okay, there's got to be an easier way.
There is.
And it's wild.
I'm about to tell you how. DaVinci Resolve, the program I was telling you about, has this new feature called Magic Mask. It's incredible. So if I had the shot of you sitting right there and I only want you sitting in that chair, I would just draw something that looks kind of like you. And it would just be like, is this it? And you go, yeah, that's it. And then you push you mask it forward and backwards and it follows you.
Do you have to set like keyframes to it or?
No. I mean, as long as you have a subject that it's clearly the subject you're trying to do.
You just draw it around it.
Yeah. For instance, one place I used Magic Mask where you would never even know it. I have this video called 10 Feet Tall where the concept is I'm shrinking the whole time until the very end where I become a very small version of me. And I had this situation where one of the things you can tell where I'm shrinking is I'm writing on this to-do list and it starts off normal size. And then as I shrink, the pencil gets bigger and the pad gets bigger.
That's cool.
And I'm writing the lyrics of the song, but I needed the lyrics to be legible and I wanted to be consistent because I'm a control freak. So I wanted like the words to look great. So I used a real font and just made it look like pencil.
Nice.
Now, so I faked writing it. So I was like, okay, well, how do you get those words in there between your hand and the paper? Okay, well, why don't I make my hand a mask?
Right.
That way I can layer the text underneath it while still have the paper as the base.
I think it's so cool.
And it's following that hand, but you would never know it.
That's wild.
And then I actually masked the writing to where it would reveal as if I we're writing it. And it's all these little, I think the key to good special effects is trying to make it look like there is no special effect.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, as I told you earlier, check out DaVinci Resolve.
Yeah.
It's so cool. And I feel so lucky to be alive in a time where like prosumer stuff is so incredible, like so professional. Like you can make some really top tier stuff that competes.
I'm sure it comes with its own plugins.
And you can add your own. Yeah.
And when you add your own, where do you usually go for that? Is there a certain place you use?
If you're like, music recording is the exact same way. Like there's a digital audio workstation, DAW, and third-party people, there's a bunch of companies out there that make their own.
Have you ever used Artlist at all?
Mm-mm.
I use Artlist. They have it's a yearly fee, of course, but like royalty-free music, plugins, logo generators, like to make your stuff pop up.
Right. Okay.
A lot of templates. You can get templates on there as well. I didn't know if you had ever used anything like that to help with your filming or anything like that.
I haven't, but I know it's there. I do corporate video as well. In my career, I'm a graphic designer and multimedia specialist. So I do a lot of companies' videos. And so when it comes to stuff like that, they have their own logo creation. So I do stuff like that in that field, but not for my own stuff.
Do you film their stuff or do they send you the footage?
I film it.
Nice.
Yeah. I jet set all over the country and film it. Yeah.
That's so cool, dude.
Yeah, it can be.
Yeah. How do you like it at least?
I feel very lucky to be my job.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Like to do that and not have to work in a kitchen, of course. Yeah. Yeah. So
what was your first job?
It was The Great Escape 12.
Okay.
Yeah, which is still open.
And that is the one off Russellville Road.
Yeah, and
right?
it was brand new. It was maybe a couple years old by the time I got a job there.
Why'd they take the games out?
I don't know. Like it's weird to me. They also took the marquees out. Yeah. So when you walk down the hall, it's just like Theater 1, Theater 2. It's like, well, what movie is playing here?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's weird to me, and it's super bittersweet because I feel like some of my formative teenage memories, I worked there 3 years, are in that place. So being there is almost like depressing because it's like it reminds me of being like 16 years old and
going through 16-year-old issues at the time.
It was so much fun. We had so much fun. Like the stuff we did there is insane. Like butter fights. We would do like sword fights with our broomsticks. Like I think the oldest person who worked there was maybe 28.
Yeah. So
it's just a bunch of kids working at the movie theaters. You're getting paid garbage. I don't know what it is now, but it was $5.25 when I worked there.
No way.
Yeah. And and the hours are inconsistent. Like I think the most I ever had was like 20 hours.
That's so shitty.
And I remember like one summer of my senior year, I got a job at Taco Bell making $6.25 and I had 30 hours or whatever. And I felt like I was so rich.
Yeah. You're like, I'm ready to file taxes this year.
Right. But the job at Taco Bell was not fun.
Oh, no. I worked with Wendy's for like 15 years. Yeah. That was my first job and started out at, I want to say it was $5.25 or $6.25. I can't remember. It was one of those. Yeah. I think it was $5 something. And then, cause I remember when minimum wage went up, I'm like, oh, what's $1 more? It's $6.25, had that big jump, but
fast food is brutal.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
I wouldn't wish upon anybody.
It makes, it makes you appreciate the people that do work there. And stuff's going to get wrong. But then it also, I took pride in what I did. Mm-hmm. So going to other fast food restaurants and like witnessing people who really don't give a shit, especially in today's society, it's like, it makes you want to choke them a little bit.
Yeah.
I just want to reach through the window and choke you.
I don't know how I did it. I think there was I think at the time that was all that was available. And I was never had a lot of money. So I had to work from an early age to do anything.
Right.
And just wherever I worked, did dishwashing at 440 Main.
Oh yeah.
Made salads at Mariah's, which is now gone.
I bet they was good salads.
I hope so. But that job was brutal. I'd get there 6 a.m. So in Bowling Green, especially, I ran the gauntlet in menial jobs.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Taco Bell, You guys had a song that was a Taco Bell commercial.
We did, and that was really cool.
That's so awesome. Tell me about that.
They had this program. I think they still have it. It's called Feed the Beat. And I guess they heard our song and they liked it. And so they actually used it for their PS Vita promotion. Do you remember that thing?
The PS Vita.
So do you remember the PSP?
Yes.
All right. PSP was this massive, successful handheld platform.
And we're talking about the like PlayStation Portable, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody had one. It could watch movies that nobody ever used. Connected to the internet. It was like the iPhone before the iPhone.
Yeah.
So they were like, all right, we're going to do another one. And so they did this PS Vita, which had like a touch screen and it had a back touch thing too.
I don't remember that at all.
Exactly. I'm getting there. It's like, because it came out and it failed miserably.
Really?
But being like, at the time I was super into like gaming because I was always on the road. I was like, I love the PSP for being on the road. I really want a PS Vita. So you're putting us in this commercial. Can I get one? And they were like, oh, well, but I got one.
Oh, nice.
And so I remember it because I actually played it, but nobody else bought one. The thing tanked really hard. And so they used our song to promote that with Taco Bell. And then Taco Bell gave us like a lifetime supply of Taco Bell gift cards. And that was the Feed the Beat program. Essentially, like they sponsor bands and they give them a bunch of Taco Bell. And we got so sick of Taco Bell that by the end of like, I had other members that were like, hey, I'll give you this $5 gift card if you give me a beer, So like,
y'all were paying with Taco Bell cards at the bar.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
We didn't have any money, but we had plenty of Taco Bell gift cards.
Do you still have some?
No, definitely not. But I think I was the one person who still like enjoyed it. Like if I do eat fast food, it's Taco Bell.
So for that song, they just gave you a ton of Taco Bell gift cards.
Yeah, I mean, it was a combination of getting recognition for doing the song, and then
yeah, it's true.
Yeah, I think, but like for instance, I noticed that they've either brought it back, but watching YouTube, I get ads for Taco Bell for some reason, and it's Portugal the Man now has an ad where they're talking about Feed the Beat and Taco Bell. Yep.
That's wild. So content currently, content's huge in social media right now. And then, for musicians and people who film and artists, it's the way of the world currently. Right. So are you doing anything right now as a content creator to produce content are you doing the stuff that people should be doing now as far as making shorts or anything like that with your music at all?
I really just want the art to speak for itself. And I do understand the value of your social media, like your Instagram, your Twitter or X, TikTok. And I feel like I have limits. So if I'm going to spend all this time making a cool video, that's going to be the content. I'll chop it up and I'll repost it a few times, make sure people really see it. Because we all know people do scroll. Yeah. And so, and I've also got this millennial fear of people getting sick of me. So I try not to and I know that goes against the modern day algorithm. You're supposed to post the same time every day. But I'm lucky to where I don't have to depend on my art to live. So I just kind of do it whenever I feel like it. And I'm really afraid of being cringe, as the kids call it.
I've been called that many a time.
Right. So I think for what I do, and since the things that I enjoy and the way that I act is a little more rooted in an older generation, and my kind of interests are kind of esoteric, and I can be sarcastic. Nobody wants me front facing camera saying, hey guys,
go check out the new album.
Right. Yeah. So I'm going to make the video. I'm going to spend time on that. And then I'm hoping you'll watch it. And I'm going to post that a few times. And
that's good. I mean, we've talked about it on this podcast. We've talked about it on the Daniel Jordan podcast, and the art just goes unappreciated,
for sure,
especially in today's society.
The thing is, you called it content, which is a relatively new term for what we do. 10 years ago, if somebody called my song or video content, I'd be like, what do you mean content? You're like, no, this is, but that's how even the big companies like Netflix and Amazon and Max and whoever, they want content. They don't want movies. They do want movies, but they see movies and TV shows and events as content because
Yeah.
people want the most bang for their buck. So they want the most content and what they're watching. And I feel like we're in this is all brand new. Like MySpace came about when we were teenagers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so MySpace was this like, whoa, this is crazy. And then YouTube came out around the same time, and then Facebook. And we really were, our generation was the guinea pigs.
Yeah.
And now you said you've got children.
Mm-hmm.
They were born into it. And we were the last generation that was like, remember not having a phone to having a Saved by the Bell phone, as I call it, to having a smartphone. And so we remember what it was like, but we're young enough to pick it up. Be like, oh, cool, got this. And so it's really strange to see like, how these kids are going to, what their lives going to be like when they become like 20 somethings.
What do you think? What is your thought process on what do you think will happen?
I have no idea. I mean, like, I see stuff and I see other people speculate on it. It seems like we've had an influx of like anxiety. Everybody talks about anxiety these days. As somebody who's suffered from anxiety for many years, I get it, but I feel like it's a different type of anxiety because now actually me and my wife just watched the new Mean Girls last night. Mean Girls, the original, is one of my favorite comedies of all time. I think it's classic. And I love it, love it, love it. So I was like, I don't know about this. It's like, why are they doing this? It's a musical. It's 20 years later. It's got Tim Meadows and Tina Fey in it again. It's super weird.
But what's her name's not in it?
Lindsay Lohan.
Is she in the new one?
Yeah, she makes a cameo.
Oh.
Spoiler. But in that movie, in the new Mean Girls, it's like anything that happens as soon as they go home, there's 1,000 TikToks about it.
Yeah.
And so like when you and I, if somebody, talks shit about you, it kind of remained in like maybe 10, 15 people. But now imagine if you did something that was embarrassing, you go home and it's everywhere. Like you see videos, people just have their phones out automatically no matter what.
Yeah. Or if a wreck happens,
right? Yeah.
the first thing people do.
Yeah. And like, I don't know, man, that must be tough.
I feel like it's hard for them to enjoy the moment. The true moment of like spending time with each other, even nowadays I find myself and I look around when I'm sitting on the couch, I have my phone here.
Yeah.
And I may have stopped scrolling or stopped posting or something. And then I look up and Whitney's on her phone and Eli's on his tablet and Leighton's on a tablet and Cadence is on her phone. And I was like, what happened to like,
right,
eating dinner as a family and stuff. And it kind of makes you miss those good old days, but we've talked about it in the past. Like you have to be because obviously technology is huge and it can be such a benefit to you, to society, to the world. But it's like, you have to be disciplined enough to be mindful and unplug for a little bit and just set some time aside to enjoy those moments, and that's
Definitely.
what we're trying to talk with the kids. And me and Whitney's talked about it. And, I find myself getting so tied up in my work, and it's not that it's so much, it's just, it's something I truly enjoy.
Right.
I'm passionate about it. And, Sundays is our day to, I got a podcast to film on Sundays. Every Sunday we film, but after that, it's like just unplugging.
Yeah. I feel like moderation truly is the key to it. But I also am right there with you. I cannot watch a movie by myself.
Yeah, I can't either. Yeah.
I used to love movies and I had a huge collection. I would sit there and I would just watch movies, hyper focused. But now the only time I can watch a movie is I'm watching with my wife. Because, you have that, well, I don't want to look at my phone.
Right.
And I don't want you so I feel like dinner and movies are the only times both of us understand and respect that we're not going to look at our phones.
Right.
And you get more engaged and you can like share an experience about how the food is or how that part in that movie that didn't sit right or the part you loved. And on top of that, I try other ways. Like I was telling you earlier, I still have like a Blu-ray collection. Yeah. And that keeps you like, okay, well, I appreciate this piece of media. I want to watch it. I want to respect it. And then I still read books. I try to like unplug at the last hour of the night, sit there and read. Because it really just like makes you sleepy, first of all. And like just gives you that quiet space because you can't read with a bunch of stuff going on. I've tried listening to records while reading. It doesn't work.
I wish I enjoyed reading more than I do. There's like a small variety of books that really interest me. It has to be like right out the gate, something that's inspirational, motivational, and something that can like benefit me.
Yeah.
But like fairy tales and stuff, I can't get into it.
Yeah, yeah.
Now I'll watch a fairy tale movie all day, but I feel like one, I don't know these big words. You know, I'm not smart enough to read these like giant books, or it's just like, I don't know. My brain just goes 1,000 different ways. I can't just focus on the book in that moment.
It's, I mean, I understand. Like I still have trouble with that as well, but it's about pushing through. Like right now, I'm reading the most boring book, but I'm stubborn and I paid for it, so I'm going to read it. And then the last book I read was awful, and I was just dreading it. And
what were they?
Well, the last book I thought I was going to like, it was Starship Troopers.
Oh, classic.
Right, because you know the movie's amazing.
Yeah.
And when I was younger, I really liked sci-fi. And Robert Heinlein wrote one of my favorite books. It's called Stranger in a Strange Land. I haven't read sci-fi in years. I've been getting back into it because of the new Dune movies. I used to love Dune. So I read all those books when I was younger. And I was like, I'm going to read, you know, I like the movie Starship Troopers. I'm going to read the book. I hear it's great. Oh my God. It was so boring. I mean, did you ever serve in the military, or were you just?
No, I was just an ROTC.
Okay. So
now my dad did.
You might like it better than I did, but so the movie is about this young man who takes a role in the army and goes over to this other planet, fights a bunch of bugs, wins the day. It's got a very simple plot.
I probably wouldn't like it, to be honest.
The movie?
No, the book.
That's the movie.
Oh.
Like it's just a bunch of action. He's killing bugs left and right.
Now I love the movie.
Right. So that's the story of that. The story of the book is basic training. You know, you do this, and there's philosophy and more basic training, and then trying to become a lieutenant. It's nothing to do with anything.
Completely different.
There's no plot. It's just like meandering, and I'm just like, what is this?
Do you think you would have appreciated it more if you didn't see the actual Starship Troopers
Definitely,
movie?
because I feel like whoever made the Starship Troopers movies, Paul Verhoeven, I think he just saw it was like, okay, I like this, I like that. Screw the rest of this. Let's make an action movie.
Which for its time, that like the filming and like bugs exploding and stuff like that, like that was big for that time.
I don't remember what it was, but my parents were going to the movies and they were seeing something I didn't want to see. And so the way we always did is like, I can go watch something else. Yeah. And so I snuck into Starship Troopers because it was rated R. And I remember thinking like,
did you pay for it at least?
Oh yeah. A ticket was paid for. I remember thinking this is the greatest movie I've ever seen.
Yeah. Yeah. It was fun.
But granted, I was 10 years old.
Yeah.
But yeah, it still holds up.
I feel like if we was to watch it now, we would be like, oh, I didn't recognize that part was in the movie. But then we would kind of pick up slowly on like, maybe it wasn't the greatest effects, but for that time, I seriously think it was the great. It
still holds up. Like it's like the original Jurassic Park. That movie still looks good. In some ways, it looks better than the Jurassic World movies.
Yeah, because, I will say that. Yeah,
you know, it's kind of like back to what we were talking about. It's tastefully using special effects.
Yeah,
I feel like a lot of filmmakers, they just go, you know, we'll just shoot it all on a blue screen and we'll figure it out later. Yeah. Where back in the day, they had to like map it all out, especially when there was like sets. Okay, we have to move the camera this way and everybody has to be here for this to work. But now it's just like, all right, well, we'll just shoot in this blue arena and we'll just paint it all in.
The shitty thing, it's like, you know, people ask me, they're like, well, you enjoy acting. Why don't you, you know, pursue a career in acting and travel the world? It's like, dude, they shoot it in a warehouse that's covered in blue screens. It's like almost not like what it used to be anymore. And, you know, I would do it if I could travel around and jump off real mountains and skydive, but it's like, hold on, let's put a leaf blower up here and make it look like you're falling in the air.
It's
you know,
so weird because like it's so obvious now that even for simple stuff, if something's on fire, it's not really on fire. If somebody's in a body of water, they're not really in a body of water.
It's crazy.
It's such a bummer.
Yeah.
But I do feel like the pendulum is coming back the other way a little bit. I feel like there has been superhero fatigue, and I feel like all those movies are going to calm down outside of the big ones. I'm sure they'll make like 10 more Spider-Mans.
Yeah.
But did you see the new Dune Part 2?
I haven't seen the newest. No.
It is incredible, and like a lot of it, it's shot in the desert.
Yeah, yeah.
You can't really fake that. But it made me feel like I was watching an older action movie.
Nice.
But yeah,
it's so interesting. The music aspect of you, the production aspect of you, both musically and visually, the artsy side, the fact that you're taking, you know, things from the past and bringing them back to life, just like you know, the vinyl we were talking about. Like, you know, it's a tangible item, you know. And what made you do a vinyl?
During Sleeper Agent, we had this thing going around where when we signed our record label, we put in there that we wanted it on vinyl. That was part of our deal. At the time, we were collecting records. It was coming back, but it wasn't as big as it is right now. Now it's massive. I used to go to record stores and there'd be like 3 nerds, you know, older men just kind of fumbling along. But now you walk in, it's people of all ages, you know, now with all the Taylor Swift records that she's putting out, like 10 different colors of every album. There's like teenage girls at record stores all the time. So to me now, CDs are out. I made CDs, but like everybody wants the record. It's cooler because the art's bigger. It has more room for like lyrics. But the reason why I like records, is because it makes me focus. I go, all right, right now I want to listen to this album, take it out of the sleeve, put it on there, clean it, put the needle down. I'm going to sit here, I'm going to listen to it. And then, oh, it's over. Have to get up, turn it over. So it makes like, it turns it into an experience. Like, I often equate it to like, my grandfather, he smoked a pipe, but like, did he like smoking? I don't know. I think he just liked putting the tobacco in, you know, doing the whole process
or whatever.
And to me, a lot of it is the procedure of listening to a record, because I feel like, you know, when Napster came out when we were kids, I was like, this is incredible. And it was so cool downloading whatever you could think of. But then we lost it somewhere along the way, you know, because like I also miss buying CDs. You know, I miss going to like, you can go to Target and there'd be CDs. You go to, now CDs are gone.
I've went to Target to get CDs, but it was FYE.
Yeah, FYE. And prior to that, have you been to Bowling Green your whole life?
Yeah.
Okay. There was Disc Jockey before
Disc Jockey,
that. And they had listening stations. And so I feel like,
I do remember that.
I feel like crazy. Now we went too far and now we're trying to bring it to a happy medium.
Yeah.
I think I like having both options. There's stuff that I just want to stream. Like, last year I got really into that Travis Scott album for a second.
Oh yeah. The Christmas one?
No. He made a Christmas album.
I'm thinking of one of the Kelsey brothers, but off the Eagles. What's his name? Jason Kelsey.
Okay. So Travis Scott, he's a rapper.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's massive. You might have heard of him, but
yeah, he had the huge concert.
He did that where people
like dying injured. Or something.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
So cause you know, if you have Spotify, like I've had like a family plan for years because I give my dad one, give my wife one, whatever. It's cheaper than buying 2 or 3 accounts. Everything's free and it's ad free. So like whatever comes out on a Friday, I'll check it out. But point is I got really into that album for like 2 weeks and just like obsessively listened to like 4 or 5 songs over and over and over again. Would I ever buy that album? No, because there was like 15 songs that sucked. Yeah. You know what I mean? So like, I like having the option. Like, okay, I love this album that has like 4 good songs on it, but this album has like 10 good songs on it. Let's go buy that album.
Stickers, keychains, hats, vinyl. What do you think sells the best, or what do you think people would appreciate more?
Context is very important for that question. I have a buddy, Nick, who's on the album, and he's in this band Mona, who 10 years ago they had some really big hype and they did some really cool things. And he always tells me that, he's like, dude, just play one show, you'll sell 25 records. And I think when you're in the context of a live show, people get really excited and they want to take a piece back with them. And so that's a great atmosphere to sell all the merch. And that's how bands are making their living. I remember like, we would sell so much merch. And if we were behind the table, people want you to sign it. They don't know you. They don't care. Just sign my thing. All right, great. But I feel like people always want to buy a t-shirt. Yeah. Because there's not really commitment with that. They'll wear it if they feel like it. But you buy an album, it's like, well, have to listen to it. You know,
Yeah.
so I don't know. I mean, and then like I have a lot of friends who do like enamel pins.
Okay.
I don't like stuff like that personally.
What would you buy?
What would I buy? A record. Yeah.
But what would be your reason? Just because you can, it's something tangible, is something you could concentrate on, and I mean, at the end of the day, you enjoy the records.
Yeah, I've got a collection. It's massive. It's not that massive. It's about 400 records.
That's a lot.
And I'm moving, so I'm packing them, and they're very heavy. So it becomes like I don't know, you get a library, and I think my buddy Lee, who's actually the bass player of Sleeper Agent, and he's on this album too, he talks about his collection, which is 1,700 records.
Wow.
That the whole idea is about drawing like a lineage of artists. So you go like, oh, okay, well, here's Weezer, right? But they were heavily inspired by this band called Pavement, who is heavily inspired by whatever. So the idea is to like, with your collection, almost have like this historical library of how like what artists begot what artist, and like, you know, who influenced who, and you can like draw it from like, okay, so this is the Velvet Underground who influenced the Strokes, and here's this newer band who's influenced by who's influenced by them. And so like a collection is like all that magic inside your own little realm, which you could do with Spotify. Yeah. But it's just not as fun.
Right, you know? Right. Yeah. Who was your inspiration? Like what back in the day, or even currently, like who inspired you guys to get that sound that you had, or that you're currently with now, you know?
I think now I'm just like a hodgepodge of, 20 plus years of doing this. But back in the day, well, as a 10-year-old kid, Hanson was the first band that really.
Have you heard them lately?
I've looked into it. It doesn't have the same magic.
Man, dude, their harmonies are butter. I mean, just beautiful harmonies. The vocal, what's his name? Taylor's voice is just phenomenal. They have an acoustic set. Killed it.
It's good.
Killed
I'll have to check it out. But when I was 10 years old, I was sick at home during the summer. And back in the day, MTV and VH1, they just ran videos nonstop. It might have been the same 20 videos. But I was sitting there dehydrated and sick with some kind of virus. And so I just had like MTV going in the background. If it was a video, then I'd switch over to VH1 for a different video. And there was these kids on the screen, and I was like, these are people my age.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I want to do that. And then from that day on, I got the cassette of that album.
Yep.
And then I got the CD later on. But I wanted to be them. I wanted to be a young person with long hair making music. And for many years, I was so ashamed of that because, it wasn't cool to like Hanson.
Yeah.
But
yeah, for sure.
No, man, there's like, prior to them, I was really into the Jackson 5 and Michael Jackson. Well, Hanson just sounds like the Jackson 5, So like, but yeah, I was off to the races after I saw that video.
That's awesome.
And they just inspired me so much. But then as I got older, like, the big one I always go back to is like Pixies, Weezer, The Strokes.
Are you a Chili Peppers guy?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say there's like pre-cool me, post-cool me. So I love the Chili Peppers and like, even like Linkin Park.
Oh yeah.
Green Day. My experience with Green Day was Dookie, Nimrod, Warning.
Yeah, they have a couple good ones.
But they had like this second. I thought they were done. In 2000, they released Warning. Everybody's like, whatever. And then they blew up with that. Again. And then like now it's a whole generation of younger kids who grew up with them. Same thing with Blink-182, who are like on their like nostalgia circuit with that new album.
We just we went and saw them a couple months back, and then I just got me and Jordan tickets to go see them on their one last time or one more time.
Yeah. Did you listen to the album?
Yeah. And I really like it. And I feel like they've kind of brought in, some of the older sounds with their newer sounds, I really like it.
Yeah. I thought it was good too. I thought it was a little too overproduced, like heavily auto-tuned, which I don't have anything against auto-tune. it's just like it was a little too much. But I see what they're trying to do is they're trying to like update the sound.
Yeah,
because everything is so highly.
Well, and Tom isn't the greatest singer.
No, but I mean, but people love his voice.
Yeah,
they do.
Is true.
Like, even on that new album, he says words completely wrong. Like,
yeah,
but I think he says like turpin. I don't know what he says. Anyway, yeah, but you're talking about Chili Peppers. Californication was a big album for me. Like, I love that album so much. Still listen to it on vinyl. Yeah, I don't know. I've never really had a cross my arms like it's either metal or it's nothing.
Yeah,
I like everything.
Yeah.
My mom was really into pop music. My dad was into classic rock. So I just had all that stuff.
Yeah, I feel like, like I said, I play music and I've played music and wrote music. And I feel like if you play music and you write music, you have to appreciate all different types, you know. Yeah. You may not like a certain one, or you might like one more than the other, but you truly do appreciate just music in general and the melodies and the harmonies and the rhythm. And, I love Michael Jackson. I love the Jackson 5, James Brown, Stevie Wonder, the Temptations. Like, I love that era. I wish I could go back and see
Motown.
Yeah. Oh man, Motown.
You can visit Motown. You can go there. It's a little gift shop up front, and it's just a house.
Really, I didn't know
they point up and they go like, that Motown sound. And you're like, yeah. They go, it's that right there, and it's just a hole in the ceiling. But apparently, it's like the way the reverb hit the attic and came down.
That's wild.
But yeah, I think it's very important to be open minded. I try to tell myself that today as well, because apparently the older you get, the less new music you like. And that's just because you relate to music during your formative years when you had more time and when you're kind of coming of age, and that's the music you like. I've fought very hard for that not to be my case. So I try to listen to new bands, new artists. There's stuff that I'm just like, nah.
Yeah.
But like Ice Spice, dude, it's just a no.
Ice Spice and Sexy Red's another one that I'm just not into it.
Yeah, I don't know. And
she's got a great story. Her story as far as like where she came up, and she don't buy anything that's name brand. She still goes to the dollar store.
Miss Sexy Red?
Yeah, Sexy Red.
Yeah, and like it's funny, my radar for that kind of stuff. I don't listen to the radio. I work from home now, so I'm not in the car anymore. I used to listen to the radio driving on my commute to and from, and it was like Maroon 5 all the time. But
dude, I know they were so overplayed on the radio.
Oh yeah, so I don't know what's going on the radio now, but if it's on SNL, that's usually how I'm exposed to it. Yeah. So Ice Spice was on SNL, and I was like, what?
Do you like comedy?
This? I love comedy.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
You like dry humor? Do you like The Office?
Yeah, yeah, sure. Yeah. I think in terms of stand-up, like Tom Segura, John Mulaney, I still love Dave Chappelle. I know he's in hot water all the time. I don't care. I love him. Louis C.K., same deal. I know he's in hot water. Still love him. Do you know Doug Benson?
Mm-mm.
Doug Benson he's a comedian based out of LA who's been very successful through doing podcasts, and he made a movie like 15 years ago called Super Jaime, which was like a riff on Super Size Me.
Okay.
Which in Super Size Me, the guy eats McDonald's for 30 days. In Super Jaime, he smokes weed for 30 days.
I think I have seen that. Yeah.
Like we became good friends when we used to travel with the band. And so through that, we were kind of exposed to comedy and were able to see some sets. And I was just like, there's no way in hell I could do it. Like, because the crowd is like, yes, they're hot or cold, or they're drunk and they're saying stupid stuff, or, but for me, like my armor when I was a performer was my guitar. Mm-hmm. I was hiding behind a guitar, or I was hiding behind a microphone, but you're up there and you're naked. And you're like, all right.
Yeah.
You have no distractions outside of your voice. So more power to them. But then you have to be creative. You have to write your own material on top of that. Yeah.
It would be hard. I've been thinking, honestly, I was talking to my buddy and my wife about it, and it's like, I want to try it. Like maybe like he suggested like doing a 5-minute open mics, around here or whatever. Have you heard of White Squirrel here in Bowling Green?
Yeah.
They have a comedy show tonight, actually.
Did they move locations?
I think they are, you know what? I don't know, but I think last I seen them, they were on the bypass over there by Taco Bell.
Okay. Because they used to be where Bread and Bagel was.
Yes. Yeah. Which is kind of still over there.
Okay.
I think White Squirrel is still over there. I might be wrong though. We'll look after this. But if you're in town, I don't know how long you are, but there's supposed to be a comedy show there tonight.
Okay. Yeah.
They're doing like a little St. Patty's Day gig.
Is St. Patty's Day today?
Tomorrow.
Okay.
So make sure to wear your green.
Right. I think I'll be interior painting. So yeah, if you actually do want to try that, there is a place in Nashville, in East Nashville, called the East Room. They do comedy nights. It's free. And you just put your name on a list, go up there, do your 2.5, 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And it was like back when I was single 10 years ago, I would take dates there because it's free.
Yeah.
And it's fun. You're not just staring at like a screen or at a bar. It's just a good way for you to engage with somebody. Yeah. And yeah, some people just bombed and it was hilarious.
But do the people actually pay attention to you though? Like if it's your turn and you go up
I
there,
feel like if you're there,
you're going to want to listen.
Well, you're there for that reason. You're either an aspiring comedian.
That's true.
So there's a lot of comedians watching comedians, or you're just somebody like me who wants a free date, Yeah. So, but cool. Also I love comedy. Like one of the things like I can focus on by myself is an hour-long comedy special.
Yeah.
Because a lot of that's based on like, what they're doing.
Yeah. Almost like real life stuff. You know?
Yeah.
Did you ever go to Zany's with you?
I did. I went to see Doug Benson, and the guy I just brought up.
Awesome.
Yeah, and like I feel like I guess I really don't like the comedy club environment. It feels very weird. Like
just feel dirty.
A little dirty and just a little like a little 80s.
Yeah.
It feels very like a little. Yeah.
I don't know. I do. I want to try it. I say that now, and it makes me sick to my stomach even thinking about it.
I can't.
The first time I dressed up as Cadence, I'm wearing short booty shorts, a bow. I'm a bearded, burly man at the time. I was 245 pounds at the time. Wow. So I was a pretty hefty dude. And, my stomach, dude, the first time I stepped out in public, I was at Walmart, which is probably normal to see at Walmart. But,
right. Were you filming skits out in public?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I enjoy it now. My stomach doesn't turn, but I'm that character. I'm hiding behind a false person.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm not Daniel Lawson.
You do have that armor.
Yeah. So if I was to try comedy, I would almost feel like this is my first time being on stage, my first time being behind a camera, behind a microphone, even though I have a lot of that under my belt, but I don't have my bow.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you'd have to break that seal, as I call it. Like, I feel like once you do something successfully once, I don't mean you have to be a smash hit, but once you get through it once without panicking or freaking out, it's so much easier the second time.
Oh, yeah. But I want to try it just to say I did it. I mean, why not?
Right? Yeah, exactly.
We're here for a certain amount of time.
One life to live, yeah.
Do what you love, or
the worst thing that can happen is you suck.
Yeah. The worst thing that happens is no one laughs. You know? At least I got a bow to put on.
And that literally is the worst thing that can happen. Yeah. Or I mean, like, short of like the roof collapse.
Yeah, that's true. Well, dude, I appreciate you coming on, man. I truly do. I appreciate you driving up this way and getting on the show. And we use this show and we use this platform to showcase talent, showcase artists and art, and whether you're a comedian, a musician, business owner. Like I was talking to you on the phone, in the content creator world, I've noticed and I've seen that it's almost like people they don't want you to surpass them. They want to just, I'm the best. I'm the top of the charts. I hold the hashtag and this and that. And it's like, it makes me sick because we need to kind of support each other and utilize our audiences to introduce art, because I mean, stuff like this is like, it's rare nowadays, you know what I mean? And it just reminds us of the appreciation, and it reminds me to appreciate it even more. So, at the end of the day, I bring people on here for that experience. And, for my fans who might not know what it is, it's just, I feel like it's good. And I truly wish other people did it. But thankfully you decided to come up, and we're here, and I'm excited to pop up your album here and, have some links and stuff. So real quick, before we even end, let them know how they can find your stuff, where, and all that cool stuff.
Great. Our I wish I was better at this. So you're going to have to just throw up my handles here. Because they're different for each one. There's and underscores are involved.
Okay,
so,
gotcha.
But it's I am Tonyboyy with 2 Y's. But yeah.
Are you on what streaming platforms currently?
So I have an imprint, as it's called Noir and Color Creative, and that's where I do all of my design work for other artists, and I do video work for other artists as well.
Interesting.
So you can also go to my Noir and Color YouTube channel and see all the other work I've done for people. And then I also release my record through that imprint.
Yeah, that's where I've seen it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, when you say imprint, what is that?
It's not like I can't call myself a record label. It's just a means for me to like call it something, as opposed to
it's almost like a portfolio for you.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That might evolve into like a production company one day, but right now it's just like, to put a logo on.
And what's the name?
Noir in Color.
How'd you come up with that?
I was on a streaming platform. It might've been like Criterion, just one of them, like Amazon Prime or something. You know how sometimes how they have categories like around Valentine's Day, it'll be like sweethearts only or some shit like that. So awesome. I was scrolling through one, and one was called Noir in Color, and it was all these old like Maltese Falcon, the old movies about the detectives. Hey,
nice.
see,
yeah,
it was that, but they had been colorized.
Okay,
because they're all black and white, and I was like, that is a it's almost like an oxymoron.
Yeah.
Because noir means black.
Right.
So it was like black in color. And I was like, that is incredible.
That's cool.
And to me, I feel like, this is me being pretentious, I feel like noir in color represents kind of how I am, because I try to make everything I do very colorful, but it's a lot of the subject matter is kind of dark, just in terms of like, talking about the emotional turmoil of being alive. So I thought it was just a good, cool man. Yeah.
I like it. It's interesting to me. Yeah. So, we'll pop up all this stuff. Again, Tony, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. Definitely stream it on Spotify.
Yeah. I was listening to it before you came here, actually.
Yeah. Definitely like views are important. Yeah. Streams are important.
What about shares? Does shares work for Spotify?
I don't know. I feel like Spotify is still kind of new, and they're still trying to figure out how to make it social. And it's really cool how you can add it on like Instagram now. That's really cool. Playlisting still seems to be where it's at. Playlisting's like the new radio.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm sure you look at analytics on your stuff
daily,
yeah,
hourly.
So there are Spotify analytics, and it drives me nuts. I'm just like, okay, well, I posted this thing and it got 30 plays on this song. Okay, why is this song doing better now? It's nuts. So at the end of the day, though, what I want people to do is just listen to it.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to buy it. I just want your ears.
Yeah.
Because I spent a lot of time on it, and it means a lot to me.
Yeah. That's cool. Well, I will listen to it.
Well, thank you.
Again, today probably. I was listening to it whenever you texted me and said you was here, but great album. I think it's very flowy. I love the artsy side of it, and I think it's fucking cool that you filmed it. Produce musically, produce visually. That's awesome, dude.
And I think if you, as I said earlier, if you have the time and are interested enough and are curious enough, I think curiosity is number one. Anybody can do it. Yeah.
You can do it if you put your mind into it.
Yeah, I mean, results may vary, but you can do it.
Results may vary.
Yeah, you can finish. And I forgot to mention, I really do want to point this out, that a lot of the reason the album took so long is because I wasn't sure. And then I met my wife when we first started dating, and I played it for Danielle, and they were like, this is amazing. Blown away.
Yeah.
And I was like, really? Because I thought it sucked, because
you're so hard on yourself.
You go like, this is the best thing ever. Oh my God, this sucks.
Yeah.
Like, it's back and forth. And so I got a lot of encouragement to finish it.
That's good.
And which was really powerful to me, because I was in a long relationship where it was the opposite, where this person thought it was a waste of time and dumb and didn't know why I was spending so much time doing. So I was so like moved by that, interest, that I was like, well, let's finish it.
Yeah.
And then like, it might've been a double-edged sword because then I went in a studio with my head down for about a year. So
pulling your hair out.
Right. And then, you know,
All right, at the end of the day, are you glad it's out there now?
I am, because I've got a whole nother one ready to go. And,
That's cool, man.
I'm going to make sure it only takes a year this time. And if I do have Sleeper Agent fans still out there, it is more in that vein. It's a throwback record.
That's cool.
Garage rock. This one I had to get off my chest. It needed to be quiet and slow and thoughtful and cinematic and weird. And but this next one's just going to be 2 guitars, bass, and drums.
When are you expecting that out?
I'm hoping 2025.
Awesome.
I've got this move coming up. I'm going to reset up my studio when I get there, and we'll just start plugging away.
Are you having video with it as well, video production?
Well, yeah, I've actually, so I've released 4 major videos for this album, and those are for Day Drinking, Get Lost, Deadbeat, and 10 Feet Tall. And I've got one last video coming out for a song called Counting Sheep. It's one of the heavier songs in the album, and the video is really cool and kind of dark. So, and then after I finish that, it'll be next Friday when it comes out. I don't know when this is airing.
So this will be out on Tuesday, so you'll be able to use it for that.
So this Friday, it'll be out, and that'll close the chapter on this cycle.
That's awesome.
This is the end of the Doll Me Up cycle, and then I'm just going to go do another one.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I think you're extremely talented.
Thank you.
Keep doing what you're doing. You know, chase your dreams and putting the art out there, and just reminding people to appreciate that that art for sure.
Yeah. I think like it's very cool to be a personality, you know, to get on there and address your fans and be an influencer, a content creator. But at the end of the day, you don't want me doing that.
You are doing it.
But
I see what you're saying.
yeah, it's just the music.
Yeah, I love it. Well, guys, thank you for tuning in for yet another amazing episode, hopefully. Don't forget to check out Tony's new album. We're going to have it pop up. We'll have links all in the description once I get those from Mr. Tony here. But just remember to stay awesome and stay sweet. We'll see you next time.